Now, as we continue, okay, right? Like, we've talked about this first half. We've explained violence. We've had all these like examples. We've talked about veganism, all that stuff. Now we do start sort of an introspective deconstruction perspective on violence. Okay, now we know people violent. We know people commit violent acts. We know violence is a part of our everyday life, from the food we're eating, from the way that we just exist in the world. Violence is just a part of our makeup as a species. Okay, it seems to be universal in all animal kingdoms, so no big deal. Now we get into sort of the layers of the violence, and we talk about, are words violence? Can words cause violence? Depends on the words, depends on the context, right? And this is the thing, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, did it make a sound? No and yes. Yes, it made a sound, but does it have the impact? It could if somebody heard it. That's the thing about context. It matters. So here's a little short. Are words violence? Here's an example to start the conversation.
Are words violent? A surprising number of Americans seem to think so. In a New Fire poll, 4 out of 5 Americans, 80%, agreed at least slightly with the idea that words can be violent. Nearly 1 in 2 Americans completely or mostly agreed with that idea. But this isn't right. Words, even very upsetting ones, aren't the same thing as violence. Just ask anyone who's been punched in the face. And suggesting otherwise causes a population already riddled with anxiety and depression to view the world as an even scarier place than it actually is. It also enables radicals to justify their political violence as self-defense. Americans need to remember what we teach little kids. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
I don't know who this is, though he looks very familiar. Does anyone know who this is? It says the Fire Org. I don't remember who this is, but I will say, though philosophically, words hold no meaning except in the context in which they are utilized. Words hold so much meaning that in the context they are utilized can absolutely be violent. And they can cause violence, and they can cause a person to also lose their mind. A person can use words to, that's what gaslighting is, right? It's using your words to convince you something wasn't real. It's deliberate. It's usually long-term relationships. So to be fair, the technical medical sense of the word, it's not to be so casually used the way that it is in the world, but a lie, just say a lie. A lie is words that can cause people to go crazy, right? A lie is a word that can be, a lie is words being used in a manipulative form to confuse you about the truth. So words absolutely do and can be violent, right? If you believe a lie someone tells you and then you go and commit a crime, let's say somebody comes to you and says, they commit a lie, they say this person hurt me, and then you go and seek some sort of justice and a false sense of justice, and you go and hurt that person in the name of the person they, and then it didn't happen. Like, words can cause violence. What if you are sitting and having a nice dinner with your family and someone comes and throws a slur at you? Like, that's a form of violence, right? Like, here I am minding my own business. I'm sitting with my family, and then you approach my table and you start accosting people, yelling at people, going off on people. That's a form of violence, right? I'll give you an example. This happened 5 years ago during lockdown. Video shows CEO racial rant against Asian American family. Example.
Charged verbal assault on an Asian family that was caught on camera. Since the COVID crisis began, many Asian Americans have been targeted by racial slurs and even physical attacks. And incidents like these are now at an all-time high. Here's CBS's Jeff Pegues.
You need to leave.
The San Francisco tech CEO, who was caught on camera yelling racial slurs at an Asian American family on the 4th of July.
Asian piece of shit.
Oh my God.
Is now apologizing.
I was shocked.
Raymond DeRosa and his family were celebrating his wife's birthday. Do you think his apology is sincere?
I do not.
Since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, there has been a sharp rise in attacks on Asian Americans across the country.
Insane, right? Just absolutely not acceptable. Words do hold power, and they can, in many ways, cause a lot of violence. An example of the violence that I actually want to talk about here that I think is very interesting is actually using Taylor from Mormon Wives. I remember watching this scene in the show and thinking to myself, she needs to get away from her family. She needs to get liberated into some feminist, intersectional feminist groups, that her family's words are violence against Taylor, that their words are causing her to go crazy. And I really think with everything coming out recently, 1, I do not trust Dakota at all. And 2, I don't trust her family. And I say this as somebody who has been in similar situations, that obviously victims of abuse can do horrible things. And I really think if she wasn't around these people, she wouldn't have done them. And that's the problem with environmental factors coming into play. that if you're in the wrong environment, you can do wrong things. But if we put people in good environments, they don't do wrong things, most likely. There's a probability, right, decrease that happens. And so I just want you to watch this scene and tell me what you think.
He goes, and Taylor, you're pretty much the only girl I'm seeing. I'm trashed him. You come over the next night, me, and then you go and you hang out with another girl, and then he comes the next night and me again.
Well, okay.
I wasn't lying to you about someone else.
Here's the thing, I'm gonna be...
So she's pointing out how Dakota was cheating and lying and basically like bullshitting her. And then she is in and off again, on again with Dakota, right? They have a kid together. It's just like, it's so messy. It's so messy, right? Her parents, I believe this is her stepdad, if I remember correctly. Look at what he says.
Blunt, freaking honest. Shit. He just told me that you guys had seen each other 3 times.
I don't know, Taylor.
Before all this. And then you're sitting there telling me that he came over and had sex with you? What does that say about you? I'm not pointing fingers. You guys...
That's what I'm saying. I was trash.
I know. I'm saying no.
I guess what I'm hearing is you deserve what you got because you like gave it up so easily. That's what I hear. And when you hear your parents say that, like, why were you expecting to be respected? It like hurts.
Just for context, even my parents have said things about rape, like if you play with fire, you're gonna get burned, or didn't we tell you not to go hang out with people? Didn't we warn you? What did you think was gonna happen? You can't be in that environment and maintain sanity. You can't. Even if they have good intentions, even if they don't mean it in the way that it is heard, you cannot be sane in that environment. You cannot go to people with your deepest vulnerabilities. And then look what Taylor does. Taylor always takes it upon herself. Taylor always blames herself. Taylor does think she's trash. Taylor always messes, like, I'm sorry, I read chat. Taylor always really, takes it, she internalizes it. Versus Dakota does not internalize it. None of the parents internalize it. None of the people in this situation will ever actually internalize the amount of burden that Taylor internalizes, right? And I don't know these people, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'll just say from a lived experience, the reason my therapist diagnosed me with BPD is because I grew up in the household I grew up in. She really thinks if I did not grow up with my homophobic parents, I never would have had BPD. She thinks it only was because I was a queer kid in a homophobic home, and I listened and internalized to all of the homophobic language around me, all of the homophobic messaging around me, internalized it so young and thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to end my life because being gay is such a bad thing. Now imagine you're growing up in a world in this bubble where you're constantly being treated, and the parents take no responsibility, by the way, for how their kids turned out. Isn't that the irony? They take absolutely no responsibility for the impact of the Mormon religion, patriarchy, the fact that they trapped Taylor in this social bubble, the fact that Taylor's whole life and her money and her income comes from this bubble. What if Taylor left it all? Deconstructed from Mormonism, left this patriarchal bubble, and completely did a new life with her kids somewhere else. But she can't. And now she shares custody with an abuser. Now she shares custody and connection with her Mormon family, her bubbles, her friends, her work, everything around her. She's basically trapped. And I'm saying patriarchy traps you. Abuse traps you. Okay? I think Taylor was purposely trapped. I think people around her always try to trap her. And how can she even leave without being a bad mom, about being a bad daughter? People like Taylor can't leave without being seen as the bad guy. You must understand there's no situation in which Taylor can ever be free from this construct now, especially because she had children. And that's the shittiest part. She already has children with her former husband, who's also Mormon. So now there's another layer. You are trapped. That's why men baby trap you. That's why women can baby trap people. That's why people baby trap people, because now you're trapped. And that's why I say we need to promote safe sex, which, by the way, religious bubbles don't, because religious bubbles want you to be baby trapped. Religious bubbles don't give people the tools to stay on birth control. They don't give you the permission. Mormons are known for soaking. You're not supposed to have sex before marriage, so they just stick it in and lay there. Catholics are known for anal to avoid vaginal sex, right? Like, we literally trap our children in these constructs and then blame our children for engaging in these constructs. And that's what you just saw. So now, years later, okay, I know this horrible video is coming out where Taylor threw a chair and was basically being very violent in a situation. And I do agree that it's inappropriate. I don't agree that it necessarily proves she was the initial abuser, because I think this is Amber Heard and Johnny Depp all over again. If you first heard about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, you would have said, oh my God, Amber Heard. And then if you saw the court case, you would have said, oh my God, Johnny Depp. And then if you revisit, you're like, oh my God, Amber Heard. You have to remember you were being manipulated by media. You have to remember you were being manipulated by marketing. You have to remember you do not know the inner workings of these situations. I would caution all of you from deciding you know exactly what's happening, given that this didn't just pop out of nowhere. This didn't just show up out of nowhere, right? You can be two things. I have seen people get so triggered and so frustrated and try to throw something at somebody else and miss and accidentally hit a kid. I've seen that happen in real life. And that's what happens in this video. By the looks of it, she goes to throw something at Dakota and it hits her daughter, right? How devastating is that? But I've seen that exact thing happen in real life. This person was being triggered. They were targeting this person. They were trying to make them angry. And this person got triggered. It doesn't justify it, but it explains why people who are, in my mind, really ill-intentioned, why they do put people in situations, whether they even subconsciously know it or not, to upset you, to get triggered. Debate bros use this tactic too, by the way. It's a tactic men use even in debate, where they try to get you triggered so you look unhinged, so they look more reasonable than you do. They literally use this on YouTube collaboration. I've seen it happen. I've been a victim of it, where I'm like, are you trying to piss me off on purpose? Like, why are you asking this question? Okay, look, here's the video, trigger warning.
Yeah, look at you. Look.
This was 3 years ago.
Yeah, look. This is called physical abuse. Yeah. Yeah. See, Taylor, this is all you do. It's the only thing you know.
Also, just for context for patriarchal bubbles, because I think this matters, when women are taught that they'll never be strong enough to hit a man, and men are taught like not to hit a woman, but women will lash out physically because men will train them under patriarchy to say, like, you're not even that upset, bro. Like, you're not even that upset. And then to show how upset you are, you'll hit them. And they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you hit me. So it's like, how do I make it clear to you to stop? Stop doing what you're doing. Stop it. Like, leave me alone. And then they chase you. They follow you from bedroom to bedroom. So even when you try to get away, right? There's a lot of layers to this. Again, we don't know what's happening. We're not in the situation. I could be wrong, but what I'm viewing is there's something to the story we're missing. It is not, the whole situation cannot be expressed in this one video. There is violence happening, but again, not all violence is the same. And the question is, our goal is to never be violent, but violence can also come from words. Okay, it can also come from the fact that he's saying this is abuse, or what happened prior to the videotape turning on, or what happened prior. All of these things could matter, but look, at the end of the day, it could be that all of us are being manipulated by Taylor, and Taylor is this great puppet mastermind. But until she's away from her family, until she's away from Dakota, I don't know if we'll ever know the truth, because that family is incredibly abusive. Her family, whether they like it or not, whether they have good intentions or not, you cannot raise people in that environment and not feel completely triggered. I can't even talk to my parents on the phone because they will say the most ruthless and mean shit. Okay, because it's a part of their religion, it's a part of their politics, and I know they don't even mean it that way, but they think they're telling the truth. Like her stepdad did to her. What does it say about you that you're sleeping with Dakota? Sure, in a separate context, away from her abuser, girly, you're self-harming by sleeping with Dakota. But it should be, Taylor, we love you, you're self-harming. Instead, it's Taylor, you're a slut. These things are different, okay? The same way your conservative family reacts to you being assaulted. Oh, you've never even had anything bad happen to you. Name one thing bad you've ever had happen in your life. These are words I've heard from my conservative family. Name one thing you've ever had it happen. And I know that they don't understand how deeply cruel they are being right now. And that's why you guys don't understand it either, because you see it as like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But how could you look at somebody who's been assaulted and say you've never had anything bad happen in your life? Name one thing that's ever happened to you. Not to mention all the other stuff, right? So that's the problem, right? Chat said it's never the whole situation, but if you do this rather than leave, I don't excuse it. I think if you have a child before you've really understood the consequence of it, you might be a bad person. I also think people are going to have babies without thinking about it. And so therefore, you're not that bad of a person. You have to acknowledge it exists, whether you like it or not, and then do something about it. You cannot sit here and say, oh, it's only Taylor's responsibility to leave, when you know psychologically we don't leave. If it was that easy, then why aren't men just getting jobs? If life is so easy, why don't you just go to a gym? What is this loneliness epidemic except an inability to process human psychology? Everything we do is a product of both things. It is very easy to know the answer and very hard to implement the solution. You have to understand you cannot possibly hold people to an impossible standard, and yet we must advocate for one that is better, right? So you have to understand, like, it's easy to see a situation, including a lonely incel man who has no social life, and be like, what a loser. When the reality is like, this was an abandoned child. This was an abused child who became an adult. That is the reality of most of these situations. 99% of these situations are preventable, but they can't be prevented in a society under patriarchy. You will always have incels. You will always have situations like this if you do not tackle patriarchy.
All I had to do is hurt me.
And by the way, if you go to therapy, what therapy will teach you is take responsibility for the bad you did and leave it at that. But it doesn't mean you're to blame 100%. Just because you admit to fault does not mean you are alone in this destruction. It just frees you from letting it go. Accept that you have done something wrong without bullying yourself, and then do something right about it. All of us. Admit you've done something wrong and be better. But you cannot do this if you blame. That's why I don't believe in blaming. I don't blame people. Because blaming, it takes away the responsibility. It takes away any chance of recovery.
Hon, you think this is okay?
It's not okay. Your daughter is right here.
So to be clear, in an ideal situation, Dakota would have taken the daughter and removed her from the situation. But given the situation, he turned on the phone and started recording and did not remove the child from the situation, right? Why didn't he remove the daughter from the situation? Would you say the same to Dakota? Both of them are wrong. Both of them failed their daughter. And yet there's something wrong here because this didn't just happen. Why didn't Dakota take the child and leave? Why didn't Taylor take the child and leave? Obviously, there's something more going on here. Obviously, because neither adult in this situation prioritized the child. Neither adult. So why not? That should beg us to go, okay, something is wrong here. What happened? Right?
Oh my gosh. Oh my. You are.
And now the child's been hit and the child is crying.
You're unbelievable. No, you. Stop.
Notice she is trying to hit Dakota. And then she said, you did this, right? And so when we have these conversations, we have to say to ourselves, again, no blaming, but why did this happen? Why did it even get to this point? And so now Taylor's Bachelor season's been canceled.
Season 22 of The Bachelorette canceled on ABC after the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Taylor Frankie Paul is seen on video obtained by TMZ throwing bar stools at her ex Dakota Mortensen during a brutal fight.
And chat says, oh, it looks like he moved closer to the daughter. It might have been, right? Maybe he moved closer to the daughter knowing Taylor was throwing stuff at him. Right? His instinct wasn't to protect the kid, though he could argue, oh, I was trying to cover the kid to shield them. Okay, but obviously, were you? And then that's the question, like, there is a good reason why we're suspicious of Dakota, because those of us who have been watching the show know he has a pattern. Okay? We know that this didn't just happen. We know the circumstance of how they got together. We understand the pressure Taylor is under, and we understand that all of the things that have been happened didn't just happen in a vacuum. So again, we might be wrong, you might be wrong, but for people who have just only seen this video, you do not have enough information to understand what's happening. You don't. You could never have enough information. Now, you might say, well, in a vacuum, what I see is inappropriate. Okay, we agree. Great. Now what? Now what? Okay? Yes, we agree. Now what? What else do you see, though? What else do you see other than a woman screaming on the top of her lungs, okay, at a man? What else do you see, right? If you're just allowing yourself to see the woman, then you're not seeing the full picture. And I'm saying we need to see the full picture. And yes, if you're gender deconstructed, then you're going to do this regardless of the gender of the person. But if you're just a misogynist who's looking at an excuse to hate a woman, there you go. If you're just a misandrist who's looking at an excuse to hate a man, there you go. But again, misandry and misogyny are not opposites of each other. That's a little complicated right now, but just be reductive with me for a second. The point is like, you have to watch and understand the context and then see what leads a person to this situation. I guarantee you 99% facts. I think, in my opinion, that if Taylor wasn't raised in this bubble with this family, wasn't constantly triggered by Dakota and her family, wasn't dealing with substance abuse to get through it, she would never have done this. And I really think that she is under so much mental duress that she does things she doesn't mean to. And I think that that's the problem, is like, how can you even liberate yourself out of this unless you abandon everything that you were? She would have to fight for sole custody for kids and take them completely away from this bubble, which would be basically impossible, right? It would be basically impossible. So that's the problem. How can she leave without abandoning her kids? What a terrible position to be in. I just couldn't even imagine the amount of stress she must be under to say that if I had no kids, I could just leave. But how can she just leave? Right? How is she going to support herself? And by the way, Taylor is the reason any of these people even have jobs. Taylor is the reason Dakota even has anything going on, realistically, or her parents are on TV, or they have a Hulu show. Taylor is the only reason all these Mormon moms became famous. She's the reason they got $50,000 deals. Without Taylor, none of this would have existed. That's the craziest part of this. So again, when we're having these conversations, imagine the amount of pressure she's under, that if Taylor goes under, what are all, like, it's not just her, right? Now she's abandoning the community. Now they hate Taylor. Now they're annoyed. Because let me tell you this right now, no one's going to watch Mormon Wives without Taylor. And if they are, it's never going to get the ratings. Taylor is the reason people watch that show. And that's the reason the TikToks went viral. Taylor has the je ne sais quoi. She has the thing that makes people want to watch. Everybody else is side characters. So I'm saying, under that much pressure, it would be very hard to abandon, because they would be like, I hate you, Taylor. I can't believe you abandoned everybody. You took away our paychecks. You're ruining the show for us. Like, you guarantee you people have said that to Taylor. Guarantee you. So she's being exploited. And I'm saying that sucks. She's not even in the position to be free enough to leave. But again, I think violence is almost never necessary, right? It's almost never necessary, but I do think it's a reality of the human condition that we have to figure out why it happens.
In 2023, one of the stools appears to hit her daughter, Indy, who was 5 at the time.
Oh my gosh. Oh my. Let me.
Wait, chat says that sounds like the same excuse people say about male abusers. Well, he supports his family. He can't be that bad. When did I say? I didn't say anything like that. I didn't even say anything close to it. Men and women are not opposites of each other, but under patriarchy, things are treated differently. I'm not saying anything even slightly close to that. I don't know how you misheard that, except your own bias, which you need to deconstruct, which is fine. You're probably trained under patriarchy to hear what I said as an excuse instead of an explanation for why things escalate, right? I never said anything about, oh, she protects the family, she can't be abusive. I'm saying she's being exploited by her friends and family because they have been telling her, you're the only reason we have a show. And then she can't leave her family to go liberate herself because now she holds that burden. I'm saying that is a real reality of somebody in that position. Often women in a community who are told, I can't believe you're abandoning my community. I can't believe you're not keeping the family together. I can't believe you're not safe. Like, it happens in both communities. It happens in different ways. But there is something insidious about women in positions of caretaking in which they are often taken advantage of. That's what I'm pointing out, right? Different people, different category.
Go. Stop.
And she's obviously not sober, which I think plays a big role here, right? Apparently she was, I think, suffering from alcoholism at the time.
Dude, leave.
Which, by the way, Dakota is he was an addict when they met. And he said, I don't want to date somebody who does drugs or alcohol. And then he actively pursued her and then got her pregnant, actively pursued her. And she said, well, I want to be free. I'm leaving Mormonism. I'm deconstructing. I want to be free. And then he was like, well, I want to be a good Mormon boy. So this good Mormon boy who had his own past of issues, okay, came into this girl's life, and neither of them were healthy enough at the time to say we shouldn't date. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying we don't know the objective truth because we weren't there. We were not a fly on the wall. And obviously, something here is very wrong and twisted. Okay, so right now, here's the problem, okay? It's like this. And people are like, oh, I see the picture clearly. And I'm saying, you cannot possibly see the picture clearly. It's tangled up, okay? We have to figure out what actually happened. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to relate it to what's happening in Israel with Palestine and everything else. It looks like one way. October 7th happened, and oh my gosh, it came out of nowhere. It did not come out of nowhere. It absolutely came from somewhere. And then what happens is they weaponize your ignorance against you. And they say, oh my God, look at this horrible thing that happened. We were just innocently standing here and it just happened to us. Dakota is giving Israel. Okay? Dakota is giving Israel. And that's my official stance. And I'm saying I cannot trust it because given his track record in this whole situation, I do feel like he is doing something that I know people are going to latch on to, especially with this administration and especially with patriarchy rearing its head. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Taylor is the complete most evil person who's ever existed. But given what I know, given the show that I've seen, I feel like she is 100% the abuse victim from her family and from Dakota. That's my personal opinion. I'm open to being wrong, right? I'm open to being wrong. But not, mind you, I'm not just blaming or holding accountable Dakota. I'm also holding accountable her parents, right? So there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of layers to this.
Leave me alone. Oh my God. You're done. Taylor!
About halfway through the attack, the camera goes black, but you can hear the violence continue.
You're done. Stop. No.
And she was screaming, you did this to me, right?
I did nothing.
And he said, I did nothing. This is your pain. See, so Dakota's never accountable. You're never, I did nothing. Dakota living in a la la land where he did absolutely nothing. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, you did absolutely nothing with you never cheated on her. You never texted her friends. You never manipulated or lied to her. Okay, you didn't get her pregnant. None of that. Got it.
This is your own pain. You're doing this.
You're doing this to yourself. You're doing this to yourself. This is so sad. I'm devastated for the kid. I'm devastated for everybody involved. But do not get it twisted. A person who's willing to say to a woman who he is mistreated so continuously, I did none of this. This is your pain. Are we being so serious? Okay? Are we being so serious?
Your daughter just got hit in the head with a metal chair. Because of you? No, you! Go and help your daughter! Now! Are you okay? Taylor!
Get away from my daughter! Get away!
So now she's like, get away from my daughter, get away. Again, when we look at these situations, we're obviously seeing violence occur, but it's very easy to misunderstand the violence. Okay? Chat said, isn't this DARVO? A lot of people are bringing up the word DARVO, right? Let me get you the definition of DARVO because I don't want to mess it up here. Because again, I don't know if it's DARVO, right? I don't know if it's DARVO. Okay, let me see. It's a deny, attack, reverse victim, offender. So that's why people think that's what's happening, because Dakota knows he abused and lied to her at the beginning. He knows he did this throughout their relationship. So when he says like, I didn't do anything, and now he's twisting it to look like the victim. And trust me, I know a lot of people who do this, mostly men, to be honest, throughout my life. And this is my lived anecdotal experience. It doesn't speak for all people. Most of the people in my life who do this are men. Because men under patriarchy aren't allowed to be vulnerable. They're never allowed to be wrong. That's for fucking sure. And women take the brunt of the responsibility. Why do you think whole communities of single mothers carrying the back of their community get blamed for the way the sons are raised, not the fathers who abandoned them? Just think about the patriarchal system that blames mothers who stayed instead of fathers who left. Not that we want to blame anyone, but just think about that reality. That mothers who stay and work 3 jobs to put food on their table are bad parents than the fathers who left. That is what I'm saying. The patriarchy of it all feels very obvious to me that Dakota can do no wrong and only Taylor is ever wrong. Only Taylor is ever wrong. Is Dakota ever wrong in any situation? Even with her own family, they took Dakota's side over Taylor's. Nobody ever had Taylor's back. And I'm saying, isn't that interesting? And by the way, do not DM me. As usual, I talk about people for a living, but I don't want to talk to the actual people because God knows I'm not trying to get personally involved in your story. But if you are the person who is always being blamed, it's fine. It's either time to find a new community or make sure you're in the right. Because also, of course, you could be the bad guy. Now pause. You could be the bad guy. It could be you. You might be the problem. You must do the work to figure out if you're the problem. That is also true. Okay. So I'm not saying you can't be the problem. I'm saying if you are the problem, you should do something about that. Okay, that's why we go to therapy. Right? Okay, here's an updated interview with Taylor. Her show's now been canceled, The Bachelor. Here we go.
Bachelorette, the breakout star of Mom Talk and the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Taylor Frankie Paul is with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And I want to hear all about your Bachelorette journey, but first I want to give you the opportunity to respond to recent headlines.
Hold on, pause. Chet said he can be a cheater and she can still be the abuser. Okay, cheating is abuse. Cheating is abuse. That's the premise of this conversation. I guess she's traumatized, but she could have killed him with those chairs. Listen to me when I say this. He already abused her. The abuse already occurred at Dakota's hands first. She kept trying to get away. She kept breaking up with him. He kept chasing her. Taylor broke up with him multiple times after being abused by him, and he kept begging her back, begging her. And Taylor felt so guilted because she's still connected to him, right? She kept going back to a man who begged her to come back a billion times after abusing her initially. Then, as things go on, he escalates. She reacts. That's what I'm saying. You're missing the point that he already abused her at the beginning of the relationship. She was always the initial victim. Always. So if the initial victim is re-traumatized and re-abused by the abuser, do you get what I'm saying? I'm saying nobody left Taylor alone. He wouldn't leave Taylor alone. Okay? And then, of course, because they're co-parenting, it's a whole thing. But Taylor broke up with him multiple times. He always ends up doing the, but what if, ooh, but he already abused her. That's what I'm saying. And then I learned recently mutual abuse is not a thing, that though they can be mutually toxic, abuse is not. Usually it's always one way towards the other. And since we already know he started off the relationship with abuse, even though he doesn't count it as abuse, right? That's the problem. You're not letting him be the abuser because you've decided, his actions are abuse. And I'm saying, had he never done those things, had he never been in Taylor's life, she never would have done those things. But he already had that reputation with multiple girls. He was already doing those things without Taylor. Taylor only did those things with Dakota. Thus, Dakota is the common denominator in all of the problems. It's Dakota. When Dakota's not there, no problems. When Dakota's there, problems.
The alleged domestic violence incident with your ex-boyfriend. What do you want to share with us about this?
Honestly, it's been a heavy time to see the headlines, especially during this time of The Bachelorette being released, and it's supposed to be a really exciting time. I'm a person that will always speak my truth, and that's what I'm known for, and so when the time is right, I will be. But right now, just trying to be in the present moment and focus on this. But the thing is my kids do come first. Mm-hmm. My kids come first, and so it's been like just a back and forth process, trying to be here in the present moment, worrying about, home and headlines. It's been stressful, to be honest.
We did reach out to Dakota, and we did not, for a statement, we did not get a response from him. Now we have reports that the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives has paused production on the next season. I know there's a season on right now, and then season 5 was in production. Reports say it's paused. Is that true?
Honestly, I don't call the shots with production, so as of now, I have gotten word that it also has been paused, but I do not call those shots. So as far as I know, it was, but I don't know for how long and why.
I know you're one of the executive producers on the show.
Yeah, I got told that this year.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know, and I was like, what does that mean? I was like, I think just because we share our lives and we produce our own, lives.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that necessarily what that means. Really.
And how do you envision your future on that show?
Hard to say now, right? Just because of, everything going on. It's hard to see past this, I'm not going to lie. In this moment, it's just so heavy. When your life is broadcasted out there in these headlines, it's like the end of the world. Right. That's what it feels like. I'm not going to lie. But I will say I've been here before and I got through it and, shared my story, my light. So I'm hoping that I can do that again.
Yeah. And you're about to share your journey with all of us on The Bachelorette, your journey looking for real love. What made you decide to do that in the midst of being one of the Mormon wives? It's taking on a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Tell me about the decision to do it and why.
Well, for me, the girls had gotten the opportunity to do Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked at that and I was like, well, if they can do it and they have kids and they are going out chasing their dreams, like, why can't I? And so I was like, I want to do something.
I just want to say, because this might be confusing, because I know people are going to hear this as like Brittany's taking one side or another. Obviously, ideally, none of these things would exist. There wouldn't be a show called Mormon Wives. We wouldn't be watching it. There wouldn't be Dancing with the Stars because it's bullshit. It's all made under capitalism for consumption. It's not helping the universe. It's not helping the planet. It's faux liberalism, faux liberation. It's faux feminism. Oh my God, I'm a mom who works and does Dancing with the Stars. Like, this is obviously not an ideal society. This is a capitalistic one. This is a patriarchal one. This is the way that women out of conservatism seek liberation, which is like to go on Dancing with the Stars. Like, you know what I mean? It's the most like eye-rolling process, but it is like their option. Like, this is the option they have. And that's a struggle when the option should actually be leaving Mormonism, leaving abusive relationships, when not talking to your abusive family, right? Like, the real liberation should come from cutting these people out of your life. But she can't do that. That's not even a possibility in these people's world. Like, this, everyone lives in a bubble for real. And Taylor is in this bubble, and there's just like, there's almost no chance of her popping it. You must understand this, right? So now imagine you're in this bubble. This is your whole world, and you only have so many options. What would you do? It's very stressful. I tell you this right now, as somebody who left her Catholic bubble, as somebody who does not currently talk to her parents until they're ready to have real conversations. It is very difficult to cut off all your loved ones because they won't face themselves, and then to be called the party pooper, or, oh my God, you're so dramatic, or like, what even happened to you in your childhood? Like, what was even so hard? Or like, okay, but what did they even do to you personally? Or it's like, people are in denial because it's easier to pretend something bad didn't happen so we can keep getting together every Sunday instead of saying, can we talk about this so we can get past it, please? So I understand, right? When you see this situation, you're going to start judging her because you just think, oh, why doesn't she leave? Yeah, I would love for Taylor to leave. That would be great. But I know how hard it is. I know because I'm the girl who leaves. And I know that I, to this day, get blamed for not sticking around and, quote, staying with the family or making it so uncomfortable. Or the fact that, like, I didn't go to one of my best siblings' weddings, because there was trauma in the family happening. And I was like, I'm not going to this wedding, bro. And everyone's like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, I can't believe you're not coming to the wedding. Just put your shit aside for one day. That's how they get you. Just put your shit aside for one day. You mean the shit where there was like bigotry and predatory behavior? That's what they want. That's what families want you to do. That's why I say, like, you know, going home to see your family is all well and good until the pedophile gets invited to dinner. And then you're just supposed to ignore it for the dinner to get through it. I'm telling you right now, the indication, like the unhealthiness of this bubble isn't crazy. It's like crazy. It's insane. And the probability of it, think about the Mormon wife whose husband was like cheating by looking up like gay porn or something, or like being on Hinge or Grindr or whatever it was. Like, think about the people who were cheating on dating apps. Like, these people have problems and they were abused. He came out with his assault story, his child abuse story. Like, think about the way these people are suffering, and then remember that the Mormon bubble gives them no reprieve. That this bubble they're in gives them no actual way to liberate themselves from their abuse. Remember, they come from religious backgrounds, right? Where like abuse is also a part of suffering, and suffering is a part of the glory of God, right? Because do you think it's possible for her bubble to deconstruct? Well, not the Mormon bubble, because they would have to eradicate Mormonism, just like with Islam or Christianity. Like, obviously, eradicating patriarchal religions through people's liberation would be the goal, but we have to accept that it's not going to happen. Because patriarchy as a system is so prevalent, especially with this administration the way it is now. Like, this administration is so eager to maintain patriarchy that it would just take so much work. Like, billions of people believe in it, guys. Like, billions and billions of people uphold patriarchy every day. And women are trapped in cycles of also promoting it. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, the other day when I talked about having crushes as a part of patriarchy and people reacted pretty poorly to that, I'll just go on to say, I'm sorry, but like, I continue to see this objectification of like, oh my God, like this woman is making him so nervous. Oh my God, he's so nervous around this woman. That's all patriarchy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can talk about it in a second. But like, even watching like progressives and progressive circles, I roll my eyes so hard. You are amplifying objectification and sexualization of women's presence in men's lives. You think it's a part of empowerment, and it's not. You are not empowering women by saying, oh my God, look how nervous she's making him. That's not empowerment. That is continuing to sexualize women's bodies as an intimidating force for making a man blush. Congratulations. It's everywhere, even in progressive bubbles. We can't escape the patriarchy until you remember, hello, this is not liberation. So yeah, do I think the Mormon bubble and Taylor is going to struggle to deconstruct? Yeah, especially if the progressives are struggling. You know, and I get it, myself included. We've all been there, right?
That I want to do in that sense. So for me, dating as a mom of three is extremely difficult. So I was like, okay, so I got to go out, get away from my toxic cycle here in Utah, go date.
See, get out of my toxic cycle in Utah, because Utah itself, the Mormon bubble itself, is the toxic cycle.
And then also have my kids come out and visit me. That to me seemed like, why not, right?
And I will say, not to be so strict, but in an ideal world, she probably wouldn't be actively dating. She probably wouldn't be on TV shows. She probably actually would just have a job where she's like with her kids, but she's like a celebrity and she's on TV. Like ideally in a regular person's life, okay, we would choose to be with our kids. We wouldn't go away. Same with, I'm sorry, being a truck driver or a military person, spending 8 months away from your kids is crazy. But people do it every day and call it real life. I don't know, guys. It's funny that you bring kids into the universe and then abandon them for 8 months out of the year. You know what I'm saying? Chad says, okay, she knows it's toxic. Oh, Taylor is very self-aware. Just to keep in mind, Taylor is so self-aware, but she doesn't have the ability to pop the bubble yet, but she's incredibly self-aware. She just also doesn't have the next tool, because you can be self-aware, but you also have to be introspective, extrospective, and you have to be ready to abandon the world you knew to make a new one. And I don't think she's safe enough to do that yet. But she does know there's something fucked up happening. The problem is she blames herself. You're not going to get anywhere if you keep blaming yourself.
I will say, you don't realize how, like we were talking about a little bit, but just like how it can be exhausting too.
Versus Dakota goes, I did nothing wrong. This isn't me. I didn't do this. Taylor will say, I know I did this. I know I did this. Very victim typical. If you don't know about abuse victims, very typical for the abuse victim to say, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault. Very typical for the abuser to say, it is your fault. That is the typical pattern. That's why a lot of us are looking at the situation like, oh, we know what this is. Because it's always this way with the abuser. The abuser will never actually take full responsibility. They'll always make it clear that it was you. And then the victim will take too much of the responsibility, more than just what they did wrong. They'll take on what the abuser did wrong. They'll say, I was wrong. My father raped me because I wore shorts in the kitchen. I was wrong. My grandfather touched me because late at night I would come out and get a glass of water when I knew it was inappropriate hours of the day. I was wrong. And then women will do that. They'll push that narrative. They'll push the narrative even further, right? Actually, let me give you a good example of how this happens in bubbles, and they'll call it modesty. I saw this TikTok this morning. It really just brings it home. I wasn't planning on showing you, but I will. I'm sorry. Let me show it to you, okay? First of all, we know this man can be trusted because his username is Bear D. Luffy. Okay, I think he's a gay bear, which is why he called Bear D. Luffy. Okay, we love him. Listen to this horrifying story he tells about one of his
tell me if I'm tripping.
One of his oldest friends possibly ending a friendship with him over a boyfriend. Listen to this convo.
So I'm pretty sure I just ended a 15-year friendship. So homegirl messaged me. She says, hey, I'm gonna get you away from the hotel for a little bit. I'm gonna come pick you up. You're gonna come chill with me and the kids. When boyfriend get off, you can grab some pizza. We're gonna have a movie night. I said, okay, wonderful. Sounds great. Picks me up. I meet her children. Teenager, about 14, 15, young lady, and the toddler's a little boy. So we all chilling, we vibing.
Okay, I love that a few of you have already seen this video, because this is the kind of video that I saw this morning and I was like, like, this is the problem with modesty culture. This is the problem with like religious patriarchal culture. And look at it. Look at it.
In their rooms, doing whatever, little toddler, just running all around the house, doing, what little toddlers do. And me and her just catching up. We had a couple like little mimosa things or whatever, delicious, having a great time. So a boyfriend calls and he says, hey, yada, yada, yada. I got the pizza. I'm on my way home. I'll be home in 10 minutes. She said, all right, bet. Let me get the kids dressed. He said, okay, cool. I'll see y'all soon. So that instantly caught my attention. I'm like, oh, what, we all going somewhere? She was like, no, he just like them to be dressed when he come home. Hello? So instant red flag, like flying up in my head. And I'm like, So she getting a little boy dress. Mind you, he just run around in a pamper. She getting a little boy dress. And she told the girl to go and put some clothes on her.
Just mind you that he is also a man, I assume, and in the house, I assume, with the children. And he's the friend, and they're not dating, but the man she's dating, okay, right?
Mind you, this little girl had some shorts on that came just right above her knee, nothing crazy, and a t-shirt, like something a child would wear to the mall with some Crocs on.
Okay, just imagine it. Shorts just above the knee and a t-shirt with Crocs. Okay, normal.
Like, wait, he wanted them to get dressed because he coming home? She said, yeah, he don't believe that kids should be showing skin around him. They need to have some modesty. I said, friend, that's a red flag. Number one, this is a toddler. A little boy at that. What kind of skin? I said, and she was fine. She was like, no, don't do that, girl. I know what you're trying to say, but it's nothing like that. It's just all about modesty. I said, no, this is way beyond modesty, honey. This girl come out the room and go, Mom, is good. And she got sweatpants on and a long sleeve sweatshirt. Mind you, it's hot as hell today in Florida. It ain't cold.
Okay, just process this information because this all goes back to Taylor Frankie, right? Wait, Frankie Paul? No, Frankie Paul. Oh my God, not Frankie. No, Taylor Frankie Paul. Okay, this goes back to Taylor, even though it doesn't sound like it's connected, but it is. It's this weaponization of patriarchal religions that blame. So now the children are responsible for the boyfriend's thoughts, right? So now the kids are in an unsafe environment in which they are now trained to believe that around mom's boyfriend, I have to be more modest than modest because he's here and he's seeing me. What level of protection are they going to feel if around their, Bear D. Luffy here, they don't have to dress up? Oh, but they have to dress up around mom's boyfriend? What are we signaling? Now, I grew up Assyrian, okay? We're Assyrian. We grew up with your brothers and your father are home, be modest. What the fuck? And now you have to wonder, like, wait, why? Now, to be fair, and I'm going to say to be fair, I did know of families in which there was overlap with the daughters maybe wearing more revealing clothes, whatever the fuck that means, and the father's abusing them. But I really got to get you to understand, it's not the clothes. They would abuse women in full burqas. They do. You think women in burqas don't get raped? Men will rape sheep. They will rape dead bodies. Men raised under patriarchy who are entitled will rape children in Pampers. It doesn't matter. So you trying to protect your kids by what they're wearing instead of raising your sons to see the body as neutral is the problem. You should not be raising boys in schools to be distracted by girls' shoulders. You should not be raising children to be distracted by human body. We should be seeing the human body for what it is. It's a vessel. Okay? It's just this thing we exist in. It takes a long time, but you can do it. You can learn to deconstruct it. You can learn to see the body as neutral. You can do this. You can have a deeper relationship with your biological experience. Okay? And this is really hard because this is so beyond where people are at. I mean, I know people who stopped going to the beach because bikinis got too revealing. It's like, girl, okay, relax. I know people who won't go to malls because of the Victoria's Secret ads in the malls. Okay, this is the problem, is you are training your brain to see bodies and to freak out. You are training them. It's so funny that the same people who will watch beheading videos on the internet and be like, I don't even get grossed out about it, will see a woman in lingerie and they're like, what? It's like, I think we have our priorities switched. I feel like it should be the opposite, maybe. You know what I mean? What are you doing? It's like these same boys who will watch violent videos of people getting their bodies, you know what I mean? Will be like, oh yeah, God forbid a woman show up in a bikini. Jesus Christ.
And the house was on 75. It ain't cold in the house. She goes, yeah, that's perfect. I said, friend, do you not hear yourself? Do you not honestly hear the words that are coming out your mouth? What she had on was fine. She is in her home. She was comfortable. She had no reason to go that's just the rules of the house. Mind you, he don't live there. He don't pay a single bill there. She said he got his own apartment. She handles all her bills. He handles all his bills. But he got rules at her house for her kids to have clothes on when he show up. So y'all know me. I can't hold my peace. All right. First thing I said was, all right. She go, what I said? I'm going to go ahead and get back to the hotel. She said, what you mean? You leaving? What, we ain't had pizza yet. I said, I don't like this, friend. I don't like that you be mad with me, but something ain't right with this man you with. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't be fake. I cannot be fake. And I can't sit up here with this man sitting here cackling, kikiing, knowing he called you to warn you when he coming home so your children can have clothes on. Well, how you gonna get home? Because I picked you up, baby. To already handle that. A friend got me an Uber on the way. It's gonna be here in 3 minutes. Because the moment them words came out her mouth, baby, I instantly started messaging folks. Can you get me back to my hotel? Stop putting your kids in danger, and then when something happened, God forbid, y'all talking about it was no motherfucking signs. If a man comes to your house and you gotta tell your children to make sure they're properly dressed, he don't need to be in your fucking house.
I do really believe this. I really believe, again, when we talk about the world focusing on the safety of children, and we then have to raise children to turn into adults that value the safety of children. And so I really believe, after hanging out with a lot of nudist communities, after being at a lot of family-friendly nudist events, I will just tell you, there is a way to raise people not afraid of the body. There are ways to do it. And by the way, if you can deconstruct this, you will also deconstruct fat phobia, feeling bad about what you look like. Like, so many things are tied into you feeling ashamed of your body. If you can really deconstruct this, if you can really introspect and extrospect on this, if you can really go to therapy and realize, like, oh, they're making me feel ashamed of my body. They're blaming me for existing in my body. They're blaming me and weaponizing my body. They're using this as a reason to discriminate, to kidnap, to act entitled to my body. And this happens with men as well, by the way. Like, it's all connected to racism and bigotry and homophobia and transphobia. It's all connected, you know? So if you can really realize that this is happening, you can really change the world, and then you can change your life. Like, your life will be impacted for the better. So again, I'm glad this video came across my feed. I didn't intend to show it to you, but it all connects really. Taylor and Dakota didn't happen in a vacuum. They're products of their environments, right? And Dakota's problems are a product of something. You know, I think they could do a whole deep dive on Dakota in particular and realize there's a lot underneath that surface, right? But I think ultimately it's really hard because, again, like, friendships come and go. But when it comes to children, it's really hard to convey to parents, like, you are putting your kids in danger. And you know what's even more difficult is, like, I struggle so deeply because when I was younger, I remember my parents being very active about keeping me away from certain people. Like, I remember I was at a get together and this old man I didn't know, he came over and he hugged me. I was probably like 11, I think. I don't know. He came up and he hugged me and I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, who is this? And my mom, she came out of nowhere like a ninja, bro. She came out of nowhere and she separated us and she goes, don't let that man touch you. And I said, who is that man? And she told me and I was like, oh. And she was like, don't touch him. Because she was like, I don't have control over who comes to the get-togethers. I mean, these are large get-togethers with, like, 300 people or whatever. And she was like, I don't have control over who comes. Don't touch that man. And I sat there but because he wasn't in my mother's inner circle, she was able to protect us against and keep us and warn us, like, don't let that person touch you. But then when it happened in the family, when it happened close to us, she couldn't do it. She couldn't protect the kids. She couldn't choose them because she kept imagining the predators as children. She kept empathizing with the fact that they were neglected. She couldn't own up to the fact that she contributed to that neglect. There was so much more into that, even the parts in which she wasn't fully responsible. I mean, there were actions taken by men that my mom was not responsible for that she couldn't even hold them to because she felt like it still reflected bad on her, which is also the problem, that men's bad actions are a reflection of the women in their lives. Instead of just being the men themselves, it's both. Yes, it's a reflection of this woman for being with this man. And also, she's not responsible for his thoughts. She's responsible from keeping his eyes and his body away from her children. And the problem is, like, women are told, they're trained under patriarchy to ignore the signs because then men will say, nobody cares about us. We're just trying to kids safe. And I've told my brothers the same thing because my brothers have said similar things because that's how we're raised to speak, is that, oh, these girls aren't being modest. Like, what if there's a bad man around? Instead of learning that no matter who's around, a bad man will take advantage. A good man will not take advantage. A bad one will. So as long as there's good men around, it shouldn't matter. Okay. And I say this, I would pull my little girls, my little boys aside and say, I love that you're expressing yourself. I also will say, please, God, don't take nudes of yourself and put them on the internet. I love you. I know you've just got your very first phone. You need to not take nudes of yourself. Thank you. Like, keep it, wait till you're 18. You do not want pictures of yourself on the internet. So there's also a part of that where we need to tell our kids, I love that you're expressing yourself. Please keep your clothes on. Okay. Just until you're 18 and then you do whatever you want. But also so I think there's a problem here where we want to guide our children, not control our children. We want to pick partners who already share our values instead of making amends in our life like she does. The rules of her home change for the guy she's dating. We want to believe that if we're in an abusive relationship, that we will know how to stand up for ourselves and we'll know to leave. Except what do you do when that abusive relationship is the product of also being raised in a home that tells women they're subservient to men? What happens when that abusive environment also makes you feel guilty for being free, for expressing yourself, for being a feminist? Because remember, a lot of these Mormon wives voted for Trump. Remember that a lot of these women on this show voted for Trump. They voted for a rapist. They're MAGA. So there's a whole other layer to this that's even bigger. It's not just their personal relationship, it's their politics. And that's why when people say, oh, politics doesn't matter, politics is a reflection of your values. You're saying I'm willing to vote for a rapist if he makes my taxes lower. That's what's being said here. So, okay, we don't have to finish any of that content, but just to make it clear, when we look at the situation of the world and we think about violence and what it is, violence is more than just hitting. It's more than just words. It's more than just, it's so much. And it comes from us not thinking about the impacts of what we're doing in the world. All of us not thinking about it. And I know that's exhausting. I know it's exhausting to feel like I'm doing so much as it is. I'm working so hard as it is. I'm so tired as it is. And also, don't even get me started on the violence of pregnancy. I think pregnancy is a violent experience. And I think it's the most beautiful, amazing, just wonderful experience a person could go through. And I think it's one of the most oh my God, it is it's both things. Life is both things. Just coming into life itself is what an experience. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I want us to be willing to hold both truths in our hands, to say to ourselves that we're all these things and more than just these things. Okay? Now, hold on. Let me see here. Did I X out one of the videos I was going to show you? Hold on. Pause. Please. Pause. Hold on. Give me a second. I did. I X'd it out. Hold
on. Want to turn to...
Shh. Give me a second to find it. Un momento, por favor. Hold on. La, 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 la. Hold on. Exit out. Let's move on to this next section. Actually, should we take a little bit of a break too? Actually, this is a good point. Let me pause. Let's take